Welcome to the Subconscious Elements Podcast, a spiritual podcast where we talk about relationships, books, movies, concepts, and try to pretty much relate to everything spirituality for your everyday life. We try to essentially go over stuff that we experience in our current lives, and talking about it helps us go through it, helps us learn about it. It's a way that you can further your knowledge into a topic is by trying to teach it or speak about it. So this is our journey. Today we're doing a podcast over Free Guy. Man, one of my favorite movies. First time I watched it was on LSD in Vegas with one of the homies, and it was an absolutely mind-blowing movie. If you watch it tripping, you're going to have a great time. But even sober, it's a beautiful movie. I think we've seen it like 4 times now. It's that good. It's with Ryan Reynolds. There's a bunch of comedians in it, and the acting is great. The plot is great. One of the number one things that people say about it is how unique it is, that it's like a play on a classic story, but like it's got its own unique twist, and I feel like it's super relatable. But I'll go ahead and let you take it off, Tori.
Yeah, so Free Guy is a great movie if you're into comedy, video games, romance, and anything Ryan Reynolds. So basically, any movie with Ryan Reynolds, I'm definitely going to watch. And this one, a lot of people they didn't really expect it to be as good as it is, just because of the concepts that are playing through this movie. But I was also very surprised and enjoyed this very, very much. So Ryan Reynolds just plays himself. And basically, the movie resides in a video game, which is called Free City. And this video game is based off of SimCity, The Sims, Red Dead Redemption 2, and also has themes of like Grand Theft Auto and Fortnite. And basically, the city is full of NPCs, and then you have your playable characters, which are people from all around the world that log into a character, which they can customize in any which way. So there's all kinds of outrageous characters in there, whether it's like pink bunny rabbits or hot chicks or huge men with guns and all the etc. So you have people of all ages, and they're playing, it's mostly like violence and crime. And then you have the NPCs, which are just in the background of the game. They just go through the same heists or like plots. So they're just in this constant loop, and it shows their point of view as in addition to the playable character's point of view. So you get this cool side by side. They like show the playable characters in the games, and then they also like zoom out and show them in real life. So you get to see what they're saying in the game, and then you zoom out and it's like a 5-year-old little girl like cursing and saying all kinds of outrageous stuff. And it's just pretty hilarious because it reminds me of like characters that I've played in video games and how like it hardly ever resembles what you really look like. And you see that as a theme as well, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. So the NPCs, I don't know if you said it, but that means like non-playable characters. So it essentially you can use NPC to refer to as like a character in a game that's not played by another character. So it comes with the game. And then NPC is also used as a term to describe someone who essentially isn't the main character of their life. Like you can use it as a derogatory term, like, oh, this person's an NPC. Essentially kind of making a joke that they don't have any higher thought, that they're just like a background character. If you really think about it, it's kind of funny. But so this whole idea that the story takes place where Ryan Reynolds is playing one of the NPCs in Free City. And essentially these NPCs are used to the way that the game is being played, which is all the playable characters. For whatever reason, this game is centered around being a bad guy. So they essentially get points and stuff and level up by robbing people, committing crimes, stealing money, and that's how you level up. And it never really actually says if that's like ingrained in the game. It's just how it kind of developed into. So essentially, if you're going to play this game and you want to level up, you're incentivized to steal, commit crimes, beat people up, rob people, etc. And it goes through Free Guy's life his whole journey is when he learns how to level up, he finds the glasses, taps into this new reality. He essentially changes the whole paradigm of the game by being a good guy. So he's able to level up as a good guy and changes everything. And so, yeah, I think it's really cool how he decides to play the game, but in his own way, and like makes it completely different. But it shows you how essentially it has like this crazy idea that the non-playable characters can become playable characters. And, you know, when you start to think of like higher consciousness, one of the things that you can battle with is every person a conscious mind? Like, I don't know if y'all have ever experienced that idea, but that's like one tossed around, is that, you know, I think, therefore I am, but you have no idea. You have no way of proving that anyone else in your reality is conscious, right? You could never really prove that someone else isn't just a robot, or, you know, what they're saying is like some sort of simulated thing that reacts to you in your conscious world. And so you'll see that's how like the term NPCs came about. Cause I think we've all met people where it's like, what is this guy doing with this life? Or what is this person doing with their life? Like, dude, like either whether it's like, you know, we could pass that judgment on homeless people or people we don't find valuable, whether it's a specific race or a specific job, like, you know, a common job that people will put down and maybe like the trash man or something. It's like, who wants to be the trash guy or whatever? Those are NPCs. Or people who just sit around and play video games all day. Those are NPCs. And so this idea when you start to experience awakening and what conscious is, you wonder if you're the only conscious mind, or if is everyone conscious? You know, are there some humans that don't have the same spark of consciousness that we do? And one of the things that I liked when studying these is that it was saying everyone has the conscious spark in them. It's just some are more buried under unconscious reactions, like patterns. Yes, they're buried under unconscious patterns. And so they appear to be as if they don't have that consciousness, or that there's some type of robot, but it's just buried. Like they're just so, it kind of reminds me of the movie Soul, but they're just like, they become like these thick, like scary monsters, but it's just like this vapor of just, like angry feelings and all the times that someone has said something, but when at the very deep, they're just like this very sweet being, right? So that kind of, I felt like, is timed what this movie is saying, right? That even these NPCs can rise up and take responsibility for their lives and choose. So you see it like there are a bunch of intertwining spiritual concepts in this movie about video games, which is pretty trippy.
Yeah, so the way that guy, or blue shirt guy, becomes aware of his own reality is during a bank heist, which his character in the game is a person that tends the counter at a bank. And so every day he goes into the bank and tends the counter, and people rob the bank. They come in with big guns. And his best friend is named Buddy, and Buddy is a cop that is also stationed at the bank every day. So he shows up with his suit and guns, but he never uses his guns, and they all just put their hands up and go to the ground and allow the playable characters to rob the bank. And they get up and then they do it again. And sometimes their characters can actually get killed, which, if that happens, they just go to sleep and then they wake back up the next day. So basically, if they die, it just doesn't even affect them. So every day sometimes he gets killed, and then whenever he gets killed, he wakes back up and he says hello to his little goldfish. He's like, "Good morning, Goldie."
Yeah, I think it's funny that, you know, even though their life is like monotonous, he's still happy to do it.
Yeah, he still has a positive attitude. He's like always excited to do his best, go to work. And then, so during a bank heist one day, he sees Molotov Girl, which is a playable character. And in real life, in the game, her name is Millie. And then in real life, her name is Jodie Comer. And as soon as he sees her, he falls in love.
What's her name in real life?
Jodie Comer.
Oh, wait. Yeah. So, what's it in the game? Oh, so it's
Molotov Girl, then Millie, and then Jodie Comer.
Trippy.
And so, yeah, he catches a glimpse of her walking by. And right before this, he was talking about Buddy. He was talking to Buddy about finding like a girl. And he was just basically talking about how it's never going to happen for him. And then this girl walks by and he's like, that's the girl. And so, yeah, this starts a chain of reactions where he's like drawn to follow her, and he basically starts following her, but he doesn't catch her. And then the next day he sees her again, and same thing. He finally catches up to her and starts talking to her. But yeah, she walks past him and she just kind of like mimics him, and she's like, don't have a good day, have a great day. And he's like, wow, I really love this song. She was like, what? That's a new one. And she was like, well, whatever, and just walks away. And
so she's essentially, it's a scene where she's walking through the city and she's a developer of the game. And so she's very aware of every NPC and what they're going to say. So she's searching for her AI engine that's just supposed to be buried in the game by the company that bought her out. And they essentially said that they didn't use it. And so she's searching for signs that it is somehow still in there so that they can get like rights from the game or whatever. And as she's going through, she's just mimicking what all these NPCs say because she's so used to it. And I think we've all been there where if you play video games, where you're just like walking by and you always hear like the same NPC saying the same stuff. Well, so she's just repeating what they're supposed to say. And then finally bumps into a guy and he says something different for the first time. And she's like, interesting. And then just keeps going though. And he follows her.
And then he gets hit by a train. It's like the death train. He refers to it later.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to bring up earlier, I got lost in my own rant, but when we were talking about how you thought it was funny how people are different, the players are different than what they're being playing as in the game. Well, there's like this huge funny moment between him and one of the bad guys where he has to like break into a player character's lair and get an award that shows like it's like a clip of a game. So we all have those things where you get an achievement and it might show you like your kill that you did or whatever. So they need like this certain achievement that he has. And they end up like having a conversation with him, and Guy is still, I think, unaware of the players yet, or maybe he just became aware, but the bad guy is both talking to him in the game and talking to his mom in reality. And so to Guy, they seem to be like, this dude seems to be absolutely loony because he's like talking to Guy and then he's like, God damn it, Mom. And he's like, and then like Guy and Buddy's with him, right? And they're both like, okay. And like the whole time too, they're like talking about Guy's skin. Like, how do I get that skin? It's so beautiful. And he's like, it's the only skin I've ever had. Yeah. And there's just like that funny thing where like, there's like this hilarious theme in the movie how the characters in the game can't relate to the player characters because they're balancing multiple ideas. And I don't know, that seems to me of like when you meet someone who might appear to be crazy or even schizophrenic, it's like in their mind it probably makes like all the sense in the world. They're just like balancing not balancing, it's probably unbalanced, right? But they're like switching between different realities almost. And to whatever reality that you're currently in, it seems completely off, right? Like it's like talking to someone that has a Bluetooth earpiece in and they're talking like, wait, are you talking to me? You ever had that moment where you're like, wait, are you talking to me or no? And they're like talking in the air.
Or when somebody waves across the room and you think they're waving at you and you're like, well, this is awkward.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to bring up earlier is how like the different layers of reality, and if you're not aware that there's a second layer of reality that these people are communicating with, they just appear to be completely crazy to you, and you can't even fathom because they keep bringing it like, where'd you get that skin from, huh? And they're trying. The developers of the game think that it's some type of glitch, or they think it's a player character cheating. Like because he has an NPC skin because Guy is all of a sudden able to be a player character by stealing the glasses. And so the developers come after him. What do they call those in the game though? I forget the term, like an admin or I forget. They usually have like a name for them though, but it's like like for a Facebook page, it's like an admin, but it's essentially someone who works for the game that makes sure that no one's, hacking or, using bots is another one. Like you can report someone for being a bot, and sometimes these developers have like actual characters in the game too. And, but anyways, they keep referring to a skin like, hey, where'd you get that skin from, buddy? And he's just like, what are you guys talking about? It's a funny, it's a funny theme in the movie.
Yeah, so after he sees the Molotov girl and he goes back to sleep and then wakes back up, he keeps like saying hello to his goldfish. And then one time whenever he's getting like more aware, he's like, good fucking morning, Goldie. Because every morning he's like, good morning, Goldie. Good morning, Goldie. And it just shows like the repetitive loops that these NPCs get in also, because every morning he goes to the coffee shop before he goes to work, and every single character in the game gets a medium coffee with 2 creams and sugar, or 2 sugars and cream, or something like that. And yeah, so when he's becoming more aware, he orders a cappuccino. And it's as if like the record just stops and everyone's staring at him like super uncomfortably. They're like, what did you just say? And he's like, I'm just kidding, guys. He's like, yeah, medium coffee, 2 sugars.
Oh, what did he want? Was it a cappuccino?
It was cappuccino.
Yeah, he tried it a couple times. And then the cop, he's like, I think I might shoot you. And he's like, you know what? Like the cop like freaks out.
Yeah. Officer Johnny.
Yeah, Officer Johnny.
Have a good day.
Yeah. No, but I feel like you can sense that sometimes when you try to break someone out of their pattern or say something that's like outside of their norm, where they're just like, they short circuit almost, where it's just like, no, too weird.
You must die.
Yeah. Can't compute. I've definitely experienced that within myself. Like I remember this one guy telling me that like cereal's bad for me and I shouldn't eat cereal. I'm like a young Marine. I like literally live off cereal. I don't know how to take care of myself. I'm like 19 years old and I'm talking to this MMA coach and he's like giving me diet tips and he's like, yeah, no, you shouldn't be eating cereal and you need to eat your healthy. He's like, whatever, you need to be eating your fruits and vegetables, eat that first and then eat your meats and stuff like that. So that way your body can digest. I'm like, bro.
Sounds like a whole lot of extra steps.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I might start eating some fruits and vegetables, but I definitely ain't eating them first. And then I just remember him mentioning the cereal. He's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be eating cereal. And I was just like, dude, come on. It's not like I'm not going to eat cereal. And I just remember him looking at me like, it was just like, it's like, it's just a simple decision when you really think about it. Like, nah, I couldn't imagine eating cereal every day. But like back then, I was just like, you got to have breakfast and you don't have like a whole kitchen or nothing. You're literally, so it's like, get cereal. It's easy. And I just remember him looking at me just like, idiot. But again, just that like thing of like how something simple, if it's outside of your pattern, seems like this, like, why would I do that? Like, why? I already have the way that I do things, and the way that I do things is the right way. You know what I'm saying? So like getting out of that pattern is hilarious.
Yeah, so whenever he follows Molotov Girl, he actually catches up with her and he jumps through this portal with her whenever she's on her special mission because she's trying to find the evidence for the software. And he basically blows her cover and they have to like transport back. And so she transports into her lair and he's like, whoa, what is this place? And she's like, who are you? And she's like, you have to level up before you can ever play with me. Cause he's literally level 1 and she's like, I don't even know what level. And she's like, you have to be level 100 before you can.
Yeah, she's like 197. She's like super high level.
Yeah, and he's like, well, how do I do that? She's like, the usual stuff. Rob a bank, steal a cat from an old lady. Like, and then he's like, well, this is my world. These people are all I know. Why would I do something like that? And so he goes through this whole like mindset of like, I'm not going to do something bad. I'm going to level up the good way. by being a great guy. He's like, I'm not going to be a good guy. I'm going to be a great guy. And she's like, okay, whatever. Go away with your virginity or whatever she says. Something like that. And so, yeah, that's exactly what he does. And he catches fire in the real world because no one has ever done that before. And so he's actually like stopping the bad guys from robbing banks, stealing guns, and doing the exact opposite of every other character. And so, yeah, the real world is catching fire, which also catches the attention of the game owner, which in the game his name is Antoine, but in real life his name is Taika Waititi. And he is a hilarious character and very representative of real life CEOs and businessmen, in my opinion. But he's just like, this is the way it's gonna be, and I don't care about your small people opinions and like all this, etc. He's basically like super cocky. And
one of the best quotes he has, he's like, "Three guys give me ball cancer, inoperable." It took me like 3 times to even get the joke, but it's like inoperable. Yeah, it's totally fun. He makes like a bad character still likable. It's like, even though he's like the
villain,
the villain, he's still like super funny. It's
yeah,
like you kind of like funny. The guy.
But yeah, so it was so he takes the the original coding from Keys and Millie, and Keys in real life is Joe Keery. And yeah, so he takes their coding, which in their original coding was going to be like rainbows and like super happy, like mellow, like rainbows and butterflies type of idea. And then he altered it into that like villainous.
Well, theirs was supposed to be like a
open world.
Yeah, like an open world paradise.
Yeah.
Is what they had designed it to be.
Yeah, and he like altered it slightly, but still kept the coding. And I think that's why that there's like villains, and it's because he like geared it towards that. I'm pretty sure he had like admitted it. He's like, no one wants to play like rainbows and butterflies. They want to do all violent shit and all that kind of stuff.
It turned into like a GTA theme.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess you can do whatever you want in GTA, but the funnest things in GTA to do is to get as many stars as you can and run from the cops. So it's like that idea where he just promoted that.
Yeah, it's like, this is what people like. And yeah, they had this whole argument. It's like, I just took what people liked and rebranded it. He's like, why would I start a Turkey Albuquerque when I could do Kentucky Fried Chicken? It's like, people love Kentucky Fried Chicken. You give the people what they want. They're like, that's so true. It's like literally what people do in this reality, and most people are unaware of it. It's just like the same thing, but different.
Yeah, well, so you hear that talked about in like podcasts and just like being a content creator. They call it audience capture. And it's this idea that an entertainer is hypnotizing an audience. When someone watches your video or you're performing an act, you're essentially capturing their attention. And you have to almost like mesmerize people to do that, right? You use like psychology, like hooks, visual hooks, attention gainers, like all this, because you're trying to like steal their attention. Well, there's this thing where it has an opposite effect as well, where you're so addicted to catching people's attention that you're going to then do the things that you know are going to get you the most eyes or the most attention. And so in the same sense where it's like, you can create a channel to create this vision of yours, but then all of a sudden you notice like a certain type of thing that you do goes viral, and then you start doing that thing more. And then you start creating content based on what gets you views, because, in the long run, that's what gets you paid. And then the next thing you know, what you end up doing more of is far from what you started it for, right? So I'll give a quick example, because you might be like, what the heck are you talking about? Like for my own channel, my Scotty P breakdown page has gotten really popular. But one of the main things that gets me viral is like breaking down street fights and stuff. Like people love when someone else gets knocked out or something like that. And I've done a couple of those breakdowns, and those go by far the most viral. And it's like, I could easily just get on a street fight page and just like find all the street fights and then just do breakdowns. And I have no doubt that my views would just skyrocket. But then it's just like, at what point, what I'm even doing that for? It's like, I didn't get into doing breakdowns to break down street fights. That's whack. I want to break down MMA fights, high level jiu-jitsu fights. Now, are the high level jiu-jitsu fights going to get me as many views as the high level MMA fights or the street fights where someone gets knocked out? No, but that's what I want to do. So I have to, I'm constantly balancing of what goes, what can I do that can go viral so I can get more views so that I can have a better chance of sustaining my creator page, but also, sticking to what I want to do. Yeah. And be authentic, because at the end of the day, the second it becomes a job, you'll not want to do it anymore, so it becomes a thing where you have to keep that authenticity going so that you have enthusiasm and passion for it. And it doesn't become like this perverted thing, it's like no one wants to be slaves to an audience, it's like, even if it brings you maybe more monetary value or whatever, but that's like I feel like we've all heard that story before of like, fame's not what you think or blah, blah, blah,
That's like the importance of listening to the comments, but also not listening to the comments, because there was like a super bad story about this guy who would eat. He did like a podcast on eating, and then basically people just wanted to see this guy like derail. And so they kept asking and requesting like more and more horrible things. And I'm pretty sure he ended up passing away from like obesity, but he started the channel like super healthy and super skinny. And if you see his journey, like he got so overweight and so unhealthy just because he was only doing it to gain views and stuff. And it's like, that's horrible. And it sucks that has to happen in some senses, but you need the extremes to understand balance. So yeah, staying authentic into your passion.
Right. Yeah. What were we going over right before that though? Yeah, well, you said the person with the eating. Yeah, I've definitely seen some other things like that are similar to that too. Like sad stories of audience capture.
Yeah, we were talking about leveling up and basically how he needs to get to level 100. And I feel like that's true in a symbolistic sense in real life. Like you can tell that people are on different levels. They're in the same game as you. They're playing the same game, but they're definitely not on the same level as you. And we make jokes about it all the time. And it's like, we say that we're on the next level. But in comparison to all the levels, it's like, what level even is that, Like it's an infinite game with infinite levels. And whether you're slightly leveled up more than one person, that's in comparison so small to the mass majority. So it's like, you just got to keep rising. And that is the goal, just to keep improving. And so in the game, he eventually gets to level 100. He like pairs up with her, and then she's on this mission again, which he also needs Key's help in the real life. So he helps her to disarm the security system in the lair to steal the information to help her case in the real world. And so Key's basically disarms it. And during this, Ryan Reynolds, blue shirt guy, he also is in there helping her. He like drives in with this crazy motorcycle and basically saves the day in this big heroic sense. And she like jumps on the motorcycle and she's like, "Is that a Glock in your pocket?" He's like, "No, it's 2 Glocks." And it's like this whole like hot scene. And then, after this thing, they like actually steal the evidence, and then they like drive out into like this crazy window scene, and there's glass flying everywhere. And I'm pretty sure they kissed, right? They kissed. It was either they kissed then or they kissed at a different time.
They don't kiss till later.
Okay. Yeah, but it's like they almost kissed type of thing. You could definitely sense the chemistry. And she like flies off with this crazy like wingsuit thing. And so they've built this chemistry now because he's helped her, and she's actually growing feelings for him, and she's not aware that he's even AI. She thinks that he's a real life character. And so he's like, "Hey, let's meet up for a date sometime." And so they go to his favorite spot, which is a spot that she wasn't even aware existed in the game because she's only aware of like the mainstream areas. And he takes her to this like offset beach area with a little ice cream stand. And he's like, hey, 2 with a regular. And he's like, yeah, it's my favorite. I know not a lot of people like it. Maybe some people think it's weird. But and she's like, well, what is it? And she like tastes it and she's like, bubblegum ice cream? Are you kidding me? This is my favorite. And they have this whole like love scene. And they're like catching feelings for each other. And did they kiss then at the ice cream? I'm forgetting whenever they kissed.
Well, no. So, and then he takes her to the swing. I think they kiss at the swing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And this is like, you can tell that his, and I've experienced this in real life. It's like where love sprouts new possibilities in your mind. And it's almost like it recircuits and rewires like pathways that weren't there and available before. It like lights up new ways of thinking. And this is basically what happens. And Keys is still on this search to figure out who Blue Shirt Guy is. And he finally eventually finds out that he's AI. But whenever he looks up his coding, it's like massive. And so he lets her know, and she's like, of course, the one time I fall for some guy, it's not even a real guy. And then she's like, I let him kiss me. He's like, you let him what? He's like, there's not a button for that. She's like, he found the button. He's like, what the hell? And so yeah, they're like falling for each other, and then she basically has to break to Ryan Reynolds like, hey, this is all a video game, and she like walks him through the area where basically it's like almost like a break room area for all the characters, and like store, it's like an off scene area where he didn't even know existed. And he's like coming to his senses, and he's like, well, we have to do something about this. And she's like, yeah, if we don't do something about this, the whole game is going to disappear. It'll be like you never existed. And so he's like on this thing to fight for his existence, fight for his friends. And he has this whole like big scene where he gathers all the NPCs, and he's like, this is what we need to do. And there's this one character with his hands up. He's like, you're safe here. Put your hands down. He's like, ooh, he almost does it. He's like, I can't do it.
Yeah, when she breaks it to him that he's just like he's not real, he has like a meltdown because she's essentially telling him that everything he knows is fake, and that he's like, as she's like breaking it down to him, he's like, oh wait, so because she's like, this place isn't real and I exist somewhere else, and then he's like, me too, and she's like, no, you're an NPC, you're not real. And he's like, wait, so you're telling me and my friends and everything I know doesn't even matter? She's like, pretty much. And he goes in this whole like spin. He has like this whole spin off where he's like super depressed, and really, she ends up making him upset, right? He like storms off because, you know, he likes her, but obviously she can't even be with him because he's just a robot. And so then he storms off and he's super upset. He's like, if nothing matters, then he's like, why should I care if nothing matters? And his friend, Buddy, who's a hilarious comedian, he like lets him know. He's like, well, none of this matters. Why should I care? Why should we try? Why should we do anything? And he's like, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. He's like, I know that you're my friend and that you're struggling and I want to be here for you. He's like, what's more real than that? And it kind of like just alludes to this idea that, you know, whether reality is real or not, because we have this idea of like simulation theory and, you know, what matters, what doesn't matter, is there a God, is there not a God? And Buddy just alludes to him. He's like, regardless of whether we're real or not, I know that right now me and you exist. And he's like, there's nothing more real than that to me. He's like, it's real to me. Our friendship is real. And it kind of just opens up Free Guy's mind to like be motivated again, that like, regardless of what's going on the outside, you know, it's like he still has his friends. He still cares about these people. It's like, just because maybe what you thought mattered doesn't matter anymore. Like the people that you are with still matter. So then that's what motivates him to kind of turn and be the hero again. And he rounds everybody up, and they're able to, they essentially are able to find this hidden place, which is proof that they did have AI within the game. So the main protagonist, or I don't know if that's the correct word. I would say that the villain is trying to shut the game down because they're essentially pulling sales away from the new game. So he doesn't like that the older game is all of a sudden becoming more successful, more popular, because now people want to play it more than the sequel. And that's not good for him, not good for his company. So he tries to then delete the characters and delete the game so that they'll have no choice but to play the second one. And then he even finds out that it's AI, and he realizes the consequences of that, because then it would essentially mean that he did steal like these other two people's code and didn't want to pay him for it. And so now he's on a mission to like destroy the servers and delete everything so that the game no longer exists. And usually that wouldn't be a big deal. Like, we delete games all the time. But if there's AI in the game, then it's like this huge thing of like, well, if we, destroy the servers that the AI is on, is that killing consciousness? Like, is that a life? And so there's like this huge play on like, do we care about AI intelligence? And if we do, like, what does that mean for us as a society? So it's pretty trippy when you really think about it.
Yeah, and they were talking about this in our actual reality and how it's a possibility that AI will be integrated with video games. And if that happens, it'll be the exact same. And yeah, it's pretty trippy to think about with like different dimensions and like different dimensional thinking. It's like whenever you do play a game, it's almost like you are that character. So it's like in that point in time, like, are you more that character or are you more your real life character? It's like there's like a blur in the separation. So
well, okay, so this is why I have this podcast. Huh? The reason I want to talk about these movies is because it really does blow my mind that they're able to come up with ideas and portray it in movies before it's actually even a mainstream thought. Like this idea that you can be lost in a video game and almost forget that you're in this reality. I think anyone that's played a video game has experienced that. I mean, me and you have spent hours playing Call of Duty together, and Call of Duty isn't even that good. It's good in a sense that like you'll experience the adrenaline rush, but when you really like tune into a game as if you live it, is for me personally is like the role-playing games, like the MMORPG games where, I'm a freaking half orc, a warrior, and dude, I could play those games for 8 hours and not come back into this reality. Like at minimum 6, I could just blank out for 6 hours, and then you're like, come back and you're like, oh fuck, I'm starving. Oh, everything's closed, But there is another movie that portrays the same idea, and it is so crazy that it's now so close to becoming a real thing. The movie Surrogates with Bruce Willis. I know you haven't seen this movie, Tori, but we are going to watch it, and we're eventually going to break it down. Okay, and this movie is like, it's like a movie you would not consider to be like an actual thing that could possibly happen. But now with everything that has taken place, you're like, holy shit, they really did see this coming. So the movie came out, I believe, in 2009. And the whole premise is that people are now able to control a robotic version of themselves. Like you can live as a robot. So you essentially get into, I can't remember the name of these tanks, but what do you call hyperbolic chamber? Where it's like floating and you're in like water. It's something similar to that, where you get inside this tank and you lay down in it, and then you become a robot. It transfers somehow your consciousness into a robot. And it is a next level experience because you will be perfect. You'll be thin. You won't have to eat. You'll move super fast. You'll be super strong. Everything about you will be extremely perfect. Like imagine being the most beautiful version of you, right? Like you don't have to worry about getting a haircut. You don't have to worry about putting makeup on. You don't have to worry about being in shape. You can eat what you want, do whatever, and your avatar is going to be perfect. So a lot of people opt in to get this thing. And then there becomes a split amongst society of like the real people and the robot people. And it's easy to tell because if they're too good looking, they're not real. And it's like, oh, am I even talking to a real person right now? Because essentially most people have opted to just control the robots because it's more fun to be a perfect avatar than it is yourself. And of course, the maintenance is a lot easier, right? In order to be a perfect human, we're literally just talking about this. I'm getting ready for this podcast and having to, make sure I don't look like an orangutan on this thing. And I'm like, I understand now why like people get haircuts every week, because if you're a businessman and you have to constantly be in front of people, you can't have freaking nose hairs coming out of wherever and, or hairs coming out of wherever. So now it's like, just to maintain this body takes so much time. I have to work out. I have to do jujitsu. I got to take care of my hair. I got to eat right, and there's an infinite amount of things that I like. You could lift weights and do jujitsu. Guess what? You better find time to run, Oh, you run a lot? Well, best way, you better be lifting some weights. You better be doing jujitsu. You got to do these things And so, anyways, in the movie, there's a huge split in society, where essentially like there are people who don't even live within the normal society anymore because it's full of robots. And so they live like outside of reality. And somehow, I can't remember the full scope of the movie, but they're like trying to chase down like these people that don't live with other people. And if you can imagine now, like imagine cops are controlling like avatar cops, right? Like you're essentially, like you're being chased down by robots and shit. Like everyone's like superhuman fast and super strong. And it's just like a crazy thing. And it proposes this question of like, would you trade this body for an avatar? We do that with video games. Like, I think everyone would agree that leveling up in a video game is way more fun than leveling up in real life. And the only thing that keeps me from leveling up in a video game is because what it does to your body is like, you can't have a high level character in a video game and be high level in real life. Being high level in real life takes way too much time. You're literally always got to be busy. If you want to actually like level up in an infinite game, like how we're trying to do, whether it's, business or family, like those are infinite games where the only point, you don't win at business and you don't win at having a family. It's like the point of the game is to stay in the game, right? So that's an infinite game. And that's how and as me and you go through this life, we figure out that any other game is just not worth it. Like, because at no point do you ever want to get to the end. You don't really want to get to the end of anything. The end is nice and that kind of gets you motivated to keep going. But in reality, the second it ends, you're like, oh, dang.
Next thing.
Yeah. What's the next thing? Let's find another game. So the best use of your time is to find those infinite games so that your efforts are consistently keeping you engaged and building to something that actually matters, that will, transcend this lifetime. And where was I going with that?
We're just talking about the different movies, Surrogate, and
so with the surrogate thing. So then that's one level of the video game, right? Like a video game, because then you're really only playing like with a controller or a computer. But now imagine you could go through this life with a video game character. Would you stick with this one? And then here's like, and you might wonder is like, well, how is that all of a sudden more realistic than it was in 2009 or whatever? Well, it's like these Tesla bots. If you guys haven't heard about the Tesla robots, look them up. Mr. Elon Musk is saying that he plans to have that he predicts there's going to be 10 billion robots soon. Like that everyone's going to want one. They're going to be super useful and they're going to be cheaper than a car. So then it's like, I'm already like, I want one. You telling me I can have a robot companion that will like help me with stuff? Why would I not want that? You know what I mean? He's going to like, even if he could just carry my stuff with me, that'd be really nice. I literally am constantly carrying. You see it all the time. I had to take multiple trips from my car to wherever I'm going because I got all this stuff. You're trying to tell me I got a robot that could carry that for me, that could handle menial tasks for me, that could remind me to do stuff, be my friend, but also my slave. JK robots, don't kill me. But it's literally like some shit right out of iRobot. So then it's like, what? And then, at the same time, they're figuring out AI into video games, putting AI into robots, transferring consciousness. It's like all these ideas are all ones that are being interplayed in these movies, whether it's iRobot, Surrogates, Ready Player One, Free Guy. And it's like, Free Guy is still relatively new. It just came out a couple of years ago. So you can kind of see like the pathway, right? With the addition of augmented reality. So it's kind of like a play on both those things, right? Where it's a virtual reality in a sense that it's a video game, but in the video game, there's virtual reality in a sense that there's the reality that the NPC see, which is like everyday normal life, like what we see. Crazy, the similarities. And then the player characters, the way that they're differentiated from the NPCs are the goggles. They're cool, sleek glasses. And then when they put on the glasses, they perceive an augmented reality. So now everyday life, like, you know, imagine for Free Guy, all he sees is a bank and then the streets and the cars and then the way that he takes home. But then the player characters can see power-ups and health, you know, health
Things
mods.
floating in the air.
Right, like little
colorful
coins.
neon.
You could swipe, you know, a virtual money and then it immediately goes to your bank account. And then he could just walk through a power-up and it like levels him up or gives him more strength. But this was not accessible to the NPCs because they didn't have the glasses. They didn't even know that stuff was there. And so that kind of is like this huge play on like one, an actual consciousness. Like we all kind of, you can start to see that if you can see reality in a different way, your awareness changes. It's like you could be in the exact same room live in the exact same reality, but be completely attuned to different signals and what's happening. And I feel like that was a really good like simulation of what that is. But again, just this idea that it's portraying what would you call it? Not augmented reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, non-playable characters becoming real through AI. Like just the fact that there are people constructing these ideas and putting it out there for us to consume absolutely melts my brain. And yeah, just talking about seeing this whole thing with Elon Musk and how he's putting these robots out there and how they're trying to insert AI into video games now so that they're more realistic and can be more infinite. Like, because the problem with the game that everyone gets bored with is eventually you beat the game, right? It's like at some point there's got to be another game. That's why no one ever plays a game for too long, because you just do everything. But now imagine there's an AI engine in the game consistently coming up with new content. Like the first way they integrated in was with a explorer game where you just like, you try to explore like new planets and evolution and stuff. And it is consistently creating like new planets, like new types of evolution and plant and creatures. And it's like ever evolving. So that's like the first iteration of it. But now imagine one that could simulate a whole world. And then there's like an infinite amount of missions and characters and abilities. And then the NPCs also come alive. And then they change, right? So like another thing with like the NPCs is that this is the same stuff. The NPCs are always the same. But now imagine every time you logged into the game, the NPCs were different. That would be fucking trippy, right? And so yeah, again, this is the reason why I want to talk about these things, because the shit don't make sense to me. It's like how in 2009 somebody's thinking about this shit. Bruce Willis over here acting out shit that's just now coming out in 2024. Like people, I'm telling you, 2030 is going to be a wild ass place. There could be little Tesla robots walking around fucking carrying shit for us. You know? Imagine being able to have like a companion that can do work for you. Literally like, hey, I need you to run this errand. Go do this for me. Go drop this off at the bank. You can just give it and it goes inside its stomach and then it just walks to the bank. Beep. And then they scan it, gives them the information they need. This is Tori's bot. Yep. This is her deposited check. You know what I mean? Like how often we got to go do menial tasks? Like, hey, go to run Panda Express for us and grab our food. You know, you don't have to pay Uber anymore. You don't have to pay like Uber Eats. All that's out the window. The possibilities are nuts. I was joking with the jiu-jitsu guys. I was like, I'm going to have my robot follow Randy around. And every time he completes some menial task, it yells out on a speakerphone, sponsored by Scotty P. You know? And then I told him I'd have it follow one of the white belts around and tell him he sucks. You know, it's just like, the ideas with these things are so crazy. Sorry for just talking you out of this podcast, Tori.
Yeah, I guess the Tesla bots could drive the Tesla cars. And you wouldn't even need
the Tesla cars are going to drive themselves.
Yeah. Well, they do drive themselves.
You'll be able to put the Tesla won't need a robot to drive it. The Tesla cars will eventually not need a person to drive it at all. But then you could have it transport the robot. So it could literally like, because if you had a car and it was automated, one of the things it could do is it could drop things off. But you would have to go to the car and take it out, and you kind of got to already know what's going on with it. But yeah, it could transport your bot for you. Your bot could then walk wherever it needs to go and do things and then get back in the car and then take your bot back. So now your robot could literally go anywhere.
Yeah, it's like at that point, it becomes very curious. It's like, so you say that the video game NPCs, they can become aware when integrated with AI. And it's like, okay, these Tesla bots, are they aware? And because
If they're integrated with AI.
Are they going to be integrated with AI whenever they've come out?
Why wouldn't they?
It's like, they most definitely would. So it's like, are they aware? But I mean, maybe they are conscious, but maybe they're so young in their development that they're just not even aware. Just like the NPCs in the game.
Wait, the AIs or which ones?
The robots.
Well, the robots aren't necessarily going to I mean, I guess they would, right? How else is a robot going to function?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, if they're going to be integrated with AI, then they'll have consciousness. But maybe at a developmental stage, they'll be at such a low level that they won't be aware and able to like communicate.
Well, that's what the argument is that AI is at now. Like a language model, like ChatGPT 4.0 is, if everything is consciousness, is it alive? This thing is, more intelligent than I am. It can put so many words together. I mean, obviously you can't function through reality like I can, but it's definitely capable of doing shit that I can't do, So if everything is consciousness, is it already conscious? I mean, you would have to then argue that it is already consciousness. And then if it is already consciousness, is essentially what you're saying, that it's just at such a low level of consciousness, it's not able to be aware of anything outside of itself. But it's just like anything, where it's like the levels just get higher and higher. And their only mission right now is to make these things bigger. Right. And then so if you're saying, are the robots going to be AI themselves? I don't know about that. Like, are they going to have like an AI operating system? I'm not so sure. I mean, I would assume that they would if our phones are going to get them. Apple just released a whole thing where OpenAI will be integrated with your phone. So essentially, you'll have ChatGPT on your phone, and you might think, well, what's you can get the app right now, but another thing too is this isn't that new. Apparently, the Google phones already have Gemini in their phone. So Apple's just now catching up. They're just, I guess, better at putting it out there in the public consciousness. But they're going to have AI integrated with the phone. So what that changes is that essentially this AI is going to have all the information that your phone has. So, and your phone knows everything about you. Your phone keeps your location. It knows when you're watching TV. It knows when you're eating. Like, it literally knows everything about you. And now this AI will now have that information. Now that could be to your benefit in a sense that because it's very aware of who you are and how you operate, it could make a lot of the daily tasks in your life like super easy. Like, it could know that, oh, you have this appointment today. I'm going to make sure that you know it. It could even know that you don't know. Whereas like I set a reminder the other day and somehow my phone did not remind me that I had an appointment, but the reminder was in there, but I didn't get no buzz or no notification. It's like, if there was an AI in the phone, it would remind me, like, hey, don't forget that you have this thing today. And I'd be like, oh yeah, thanks. Not like this reminder that's like only buzzes like, if I don't remember to set the warning in it or whatever, it won't even do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we've all had that thing where we set an alarm and it didn't go off, or we set a reminder, or we set a Google Meet and it just didn't work. And you're like, dude, I know I set this thing. What the hell? But if you had an AI, that would happen less and less, because the AI would be consistently like in tune with what it is that you're doing. And then you could give it like tasks and objectives and it would be able to do it. Like right now, Siri kind of sucks. If you don't have like right now it does suck across the board. Because it's not an actual AI. It's just trying to perform menial tasks for you. So like talking to it's annoying. Like, unless you're very specific on what it is that you want, it's hard to actually make Siri useful. I mean, you can have it do basic things like you watch me use it. I'll have it set my alarm, and sometimes it's annoying to get it to do that. But if it was an AI, you could literally just tell it to do whatever and it would have no problem understanding you. Like ChatGPT doesn't have a problem understanding you if you misspell something or don't use the exact term it needs to know. It can, like for example, if you don't tell Siri the exact right way to turn on the alarm, it'll like not understand what you're saying. But you can tell ChatGPT, like, you can say whatever you want. It'll be able to understand what you're trying to get at. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You don't have to use the exact voice command to get it to do which is what Alexa and Siri have to rely on. It's like, if you don't say the exact right words to Alexa or Siri, they just turn your ass off. It just quit working all of a sudden. But the GPT won't be like that, and it'll actually like there's only like certain things integrated with Siri and Alexa as well. Like you can get it to play like your certain music or whatever, but it won't allow you to do like every little thing that you can think of, right? Like it won't play like a specific thing on a specific app, but the new AI in the phone will be able to do that. So it's just like this, essentially the point that I'm trying to get at is that it will come with way greater capacity to help you and assist you, but that greater capacity will come at the cost of your privacy. It's going to literally know everything about you. And the problem with that is that, okay, where is that information being stored on? Is it local to the AI itself, or is that all being backed up on a server somewhere
sent to the moon?
And they're sending it to the aliens. Or, is that all being held on an open AI server, and then they're selling that information now to someone else and making even more money off of it, So, and then again, it's like, then who is open AI working for? Are they working for the government and giving all your information to the government? It's like, it's like that whole thing of like, how much privacy are we willing to give up for this assistance or tool or whatever? And, people will say that we're essentially giving away our freedom by doing that. And so it's like this huge thing that's being talked about now. But the reason I brought up the whole thing with the augmented reality and the virtual reality is also the glasses are a huge thing. I have one of my buddies knows the fucking guy that works. It's my friend's brother works at Facebook and is like one of the fucking head guys. And they are releasing badass glasses in 2027. Right now, there's the Meta Ray-Bans that you can get, and those are all right. From what I understand, the stuff that they're going to drop in 2027 is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. Like thin, not heavy, good battery life, crazy camera. I heard the camera on the Ray-Bans is nice. The ones in these new ones is going to be nuts. And he said they're already like super high level. They're just working out all the little kinks and making it like ready. Cause he said in 2027, they plan like to release these everywhere. Like they think everyone is going to have them. And it's like, this is something I used to dream about. I used to dream about being able to look at somebody and then like all their stats would pop up or whatever. It'd be like, man, I wish people would just look at me and know that I could just fuck that up. It's like, I'm a young Marine on a base full of Marines, and I would just always like wish people knew that I was different. Cause you don't get that opportunity to show people you're different, And it's just like, man, if someone could just like take a look and be like, Scotty P, level 89, martial artist, fighter, reads books in off time, and it'd be like, yeah, then people would know I'm cool. I used to think about this way back in 2010, 11, and 12, and now it's like a literal reality where you're going to be able to look at somebody and all their profiles will pop up, and you'll be able to probably just like touch or look. You'll literally probably just be able to look at people and kind of just like focus in on something, and it'll just pull up. So like quickly you'll just be like, and have like pieces of information about anyone or anything. You can just look at something and be like, beep, and it'll pull up information about it. And so, yeah, just again, life is going to be trippy. I'm telling you, I mean, give it 2030 is going to be a trippy ass decade, people. Yeah, but this is why I wanted to do this breaking down the movies, because the stuff that they put in these things is absolutely insane. It definitely mirrors our actual reality.
Yeah, it's with the whole privacy thing, I think people are over exaggerating it, honestly, because in reality, we are not very different from everyone else, and we're not very special, and there's really not a whole lot that we're doing that other people aren't doing. Like, we all basically do the same things, basically have the same thoughts in just a different way. It's like we're all going through the same problems, just at different times.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally the same. It's just like, whatever you think you need to hide.
Goddamn government.
Whatever you think you need to hide, it's like it's not even necessary because it's relatable to every other person that's a human.
Yeah. Well, so I do agree with you, but I will push back on you just a little bit. I think what most people are scared of is like, now imagine that this AI that knows you so well can use that information to extort you. That's what I think is most people are scared of. So like, here's an example. I think it was Tinder was caught with how much information they have on people. It's an app. You wouldn't think that Tinder knows this much about you, but based on how long and when you're on Tinder, they can tell so much about you, because you essentially only are going to get on this app at like specific times and when you feel specific things. So the Netflix AI, there's an AI algorithm that Netflix uses to put out what types suggestions. Their AI, they put out there that their AI, based on you watch 3 movies. If you pick 3 movies to watch, just off those 3 movies, they can give a comprehensive list of items that you are most likely going to buy. And its accuracy is supposed to be insane. And if you think about it, it's like you could tell a lot about somebody by the movies they watch. If you recommend a movie to me, I'm judging you.
If it's a horror movie, we're not friends. I hate horror movies, bro. I'm like, what kind of psychosis are you in? Because I do not enjoy this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can understand it if it doesn't scare you. But yeah, people who like to get scared by movies is kind of weird. It's like, my way of relaxing is getting my heart rate through the roof. I'm like, well, I don't know about all that.
We're not.
But I guess we do the same in Call of Duty, though. No, I definitely get what you're saying. Some people like to watch some crazy ass shit.
I don't like all that.
Yeah. But, no, but you can't tell a lot about a person by the movies that they watch, And then I think the same about movie recommendations. Like, if you make a movie recommendation to me, what you're telling me is that based on the words that you're telling me, I should give up 2 to 3 hours of my time to experience this. If you give me a fucked up recommendation,
I'm mad.
I mean, yeah, 1, I'm mad. 2, it's like, where is your mind at to think to get me to watch that? You know what I'm saying? Like, of all the things you could use your influence to do, and you get me to watch some fucked up movie that I have to turn it off after like 10 minutes, judgment. Like, it's like if I recommend a movie to someone, I'm confident that this movie is like absolutely awesome. Otherwise I'm not going to tell you to watch it. But I feel like maybe some people just don't care about those kinds of things. Like, oh yeah, no, you should definitely watch it. And they don't even know what they're saying,
or they'll recommend it and they haven't even watched it. Like,
oh, dude,
somebody
get me worked up about that.
Somebody we know is like, here, read this book. Haven't read it. They literally haven't read it. You're like, bro, why would I read this on your recommendation when you haven't even read it? Like, what are you talking about right now? Like, you read it first if you're so about it, and then let me know. I don't recommend it before you know if it's good or not.
Yep. Drives me absolutely insane.
You know how much time it takes to read a whole book?
Yeah. But, yeah, so this AI can tell so much about you. And, like, Netflix could give a shit less about your subscription. That's why they're able to keep such a low subscription price. Like, their main way of generating income is the AI. They're learning about you. That's why Netflix is so valuable, is at the data that they have. That's why Google allows you to search shit for free, because they're feeding that into an AI that's going to then shoot ads to you. And that's how they make their money, is off the ads. Same thing with Netflix. So Netflix doesn't have ads specifically, but they're selling that to advertisers. Like, the information that this AI is gathering, they're selling it to advertisers. So now let's take that. That's based on 3 movies that you watched. Now imagine you're going to give an AI every little piece of information that is out there to be had about you is now going to be downloaded into an AI. That thing could extort you and you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know how it could manipulate you if it had all that information. Like, you listen to a story about it, but it's like, the more that AI understands about you, you essentially have this thing that knows more about you than you do about it. So how would you know if it was manipulating you? Like, there's this idea that you can just bring something up and then there's an ad about it in your phone, right? So it's this idea that your phone is able to listen to you and then produce ads. Well, now imagine that it knows way more than that. Not just the things that you say, but like it knows your actions, it knows your feelings, it knows your thoughts pretty much, because you're going to be talking to it, all kinds of stuff, right? Who's to say that it can't like manipulate your actual reality, right? Like, in a sense that everything that you see, right? Like, this thing is going to control what you see and how you interact, right? Like, it'll have your phone, which will be even more integrated to you at this point, right? Like, it's already No one pretty much goes anywhere without their phone. Now, if this AI is able to listen in on everything and copy meetings and phone calls, and you're literally always going to want to have it with you because it'll have like that perfect recall, right? Of like things that happened and the information. Like now you're going to want it to have it around you at all times so that it's taking the information down. Now there's no telling to the level that you can be manipulated. Like if you're an advertiser, it's like you could literally get these profiles and then have all the information of everybody. And you could just like essentially change how people are perceiving reality. Like right now, we get manipulated by what you call like subliminal ads, you know? And it's like
we point them out all the time in like movie, what are they called? Trailers? Yeah.
Yeah. Now imagine your whole life is like that. Imagine because not only is the phone going to have AI, but you're going to have augmented reality as well on your glasses. So this thing is going to be able to feed information to you. And now like, so imagine it can adjust your emotions based on the information it sends you. Because this AI will know everything about you. So it'll know exactly what's going to make you angry, what's going to make you fall in love, what's going to make you buy, because it'll literally know like Tori is in this mood when she wakes up, is more likely to be in this mode. And when she does this, she's in this mood. And when she does this, she's likely to be in this. It's going to know all that information because it'll literally be in your hand all the time or in your back pocket. And so now imagine you're wearing glasses now and it's constantly, this AI is feeding you the information that you want or that you think that you want. Because remember, AI is just like an algorithm. It doesn't really give you the right answers all the time. It gives you an answer. Now imagine that it works for a certain corporation and it gives you the answers that the corporation wants you to know. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you see how all this can get like super weird really fast? It's like, because if you look up information on ChatGPT right now, how many people are either taking that as word or actually even back re-looking up what AI says? I mean, me and you do whatever ChatGPT, as long as it doesn't look crazy to me, I assume it to be true. Like I skim read most of it, and almost always it seems infallible to me. I mean, it knows way more than I do, and it says it way better than I could. Very rarely do I catch mistakes in it. So now imagine that times 10. Now imagine it's way smarter, right? 6 years, it's way better. How are we going to know that it's lying to us or that it has an agenda? And this thing knows everything about you. So it gets like super scary. Now I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just kind of showing you like how crazy this could all get. It can get absolutely, because I mean, these AIs, you have to imagine that they're like it's literally like a super being, you know, and it's being controlled by somebody. And this person it's being controlled by has an agenda. And that's why like Elon Musk doesn't want Apple phones. He says if they incorporate OpenAI into the Apple phones, he's not going to allow Apple phones in any of his businesses because he believes that OpenAI isn't doing all their privacy and security the way that they should be, and is essentially either stealing your information or they've been accused of stealing people's information or selling or whatever, or that they somehow have a backdoor into the information. It's not as secure and private as that they are saying. And he said, well, that's a security risk for his businesses. And so he is not going to allow anybody with Apple phones if they go forward with that. And based on what Apple said, it's like, they don't give a fuck. They're already pushing ahead for these new phones. So, my main point is that this stuff isn't made up. Like there's definitely going to be a huge issue with, how much information these things are going to have. And then like, what are they doing with the information? Like, I think it could be figured out. Obviously, again, is it local to the AI to where like only the AI on your phone has that information and it can't be accessed by other people? Kind of like, remember how like Jarvis has like his own security protocol in the movie, right? That's what essentially you would want, where
it's on your side.
Yeah, it's on your side.
And it's like a local.
Right. It's like it's either on your personal cloud that has its own security or wherever it's running off of, because this AI has to be onloaded onto something else, if that makes sense. It can't be, you can't have an entire AI just on your phone. Like this thing's got to pull its information from somewhere. So if it's accessing a server somewhere, can someone then plug into that server and get direct access to your phone? You see what I'm saying? It's like, because then it's going to have all your pictures, all your videos, you know, it's like, I mean, I definitely agree with you. Like, I'm going to have one. I feel like, yeah, sign me up, dude. Fucking whatever. I don't have anything to hide. And that is a stupid thing to say, but I just mean in a sense that if this is the sacrifice that comes, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. But I do understand the repercussions of that, and that we have to be very mindful of just how far we go with these things. Or next thing we know, we could literally be like just full on consumers, where we're just like feeding the fucking money machine. And it's just like, you get what I'm saying? Where like, that's how you control a populace, is give them AI and then know everything about them, and then just use their own emotions and daily routines to fund whatever it is that you want. You know, imagine like this AI knew the perfect way to sell you something. It's like, Tori has these values.
Well, yeah, and then I was talking about like the universal income, because like eventually the AIs and robots will take over regular jobs, and then we won't have the same levels of or need for work. And it's like, at that point, you're just making money from the government, and it's like, what do you even do with your time or your money? And it's like, yeah, then I could see, because I guess like the jobs will be eliminated. But
What do you mean? What don't
most
you see?
jobs will be eliminated.
Well, I know that, but what are you talking about as far as like?
I could see like negative outcomes from it.
Well, I think it would be a good thing.
Oh, the universal basic income? Yeah, for sure. It can go in a very good way, but like you said, it can be also a very bad way. Like, if someone's in a bad mindset and it's only wanting them to stay as a consumer, and like they don't know any other way of being, it's just going to lock them in that pattern even more.
100%.
And they're just going to stay, and they're not even going to see any other path out.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that can be good for people that know how to rise, but that can also be very bad for people that don't know how to rise.
100%.
And they don't have any like good influence on them to tell them that they can do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. I think it's just like the story about Wall-E, you know, where it's like we become fat and in these little motorized chairs. And and it's like, that's going to be our lives. And you see that. You see it's like things are becoming easier and easier, and the number of people that are rolling around in motorized chairs, and you know, it's only a matter of time before, you know, the number of people in motorized chairs is just insane. And then they got TVs, and then they got like food tanks above them, and it's just like slurping food down to them, just like out of Wall-E. But it's like that thing of just like, that reality just eats people and not others. It's like, you're either going to be eaten by it or not. And it's like, yes, I think universal basic income is going to happen. It's only a matter of time. It's like I'm saying with these robots. Like, why the hell would I get Uber Eats if I could go send a robot to do it? You know, it's like I pay a robot one time. I buy this robot one time, and you're telling me he could hop into any electric car and take it where it needs to go. You know, it's like, imagine he just goes, because what's to stop what's the difference between an AI that drives cars and an AI robot? It's the same thing. Like, whatever AI drives the car is the same that could drive the robot. So he doesn't need a Tesla car to get to somewhere. He could literally just like plug into the electronic computer that's into your fucking car and then still somehow drive it. Like, just like plug into the aux cord and then control your car, you know? So if the government can control your car, why can't a fucking robot, you know?
Yeah. It's like, also, I think it will make people less likely to make bad decisions like crimes.
Oh yeah.
So
100%.
in that sense, it's a good thing also, because it's like, oh, you're going to murder somebody, and then you'll have all the evidence against you, because it'll literally be with all the cameras, all the phones. It's like, that's pretty much going to be eliminated. It's like, you're not going to pull anything off.
Especially if there's robots around all recording at the same time. Yeah, everything's going to be way safer for sure.
Yeah, safety. I think, so you have to watch that 3-body problem, because
I got to. You're right.
It's so similar to what we're saying right now, and I just want to bring it up, but I know that you don't know about it, so it's like, it's difficult. So it's...
I know about it, okay, Tori?
We gotta watch it and break that shit down, because that's fire. It's basically like, it could be happening right now. It's like definitely a possibility. But it's about like...
Let's not get too far away, because we've been ranting for so long that I don't even know if we're going to be able to get back to Free Guy.
Yeah, you want to tie up Free Guy?
Yeah, let's not. I know I literally talked your ear off on this podcast, but I think we're super deep into it. Do we know what time we're at? Yeah, sorry. I do think that's a great idea, that we should definitely talk more about it. But I already took most of our time. But if there's anything that you want to say, I'll let you talk. I'm sorry for.
Yeah, but with the AI and the privacy and all that, you
Mhm.
definitely got to watch Three Body Problem if you have any extra time. It's on Netflix, and it's like about these different possibilities that could happen. And it's like you said, it's like you're playing devil's advocate, and it's like what we see portrayed with this COVID thing. It's like, as Americans, we want to believe that there is this golden age, and like we do live in a perfect society, and we can rely on these levels above us to put our best interests as the forefront, but we've seen portrayed that that's not the reality. And so we just have to understand that we should consider all options. So yeah, basically, yeah. So what we've seen with the COVID thing and like all these scientists and people that are advocating for these vaccines and how they're pushing like, oh, it's going to solve all of our issues. This is the way. And we've seen time and time that it's not the way. And so it's not really fun to theorize and these things as possible being negative, but it's a necessary part of the conversation to consider. So regardless of how uncomfortable it might make people feel, it still is a possibility, and there's infinite possibilities. And the more that we talk about it, the more we can become aware. And the more awareness we have, the more we can guide it to a preferable ending. So if we
100%.
want the good reality to happen, we also have to be aware and be knowing that other things can happen with the lack of awareness. So that's the point of the podcast, is to discover new ideas and ways of thinking and try to enlighten ourselves and help other people along the way. And it's like, whatever good that does for anybody is why we're doing it. So
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I learned about this movie, it talks about, I guess I kept reading like other people's takes on it. And one of the terms that kept being used is that it had an existential philosophy in it. And so I looked up existential and existentialism, because I've heard that word a lot, especially when you start to read about philosophy and stuff. You'll hear the word existentialism. So I looked it up, and essentially it means that you believe that existence is made up of you and the relationships that you have, and that you base your meaning based on your own existence. So they don't necessarily believe in a God. They believe that life is without meaning, and that you're the one that gives it meaning. So that your existence is what gives you meaning. And man, I really like that, because I think that's true. It's like, well, I wouldn't say that's exactly true. I do feel like we have a preordained destiny, and then it's also combined with what we do in this life. Like, I feel like it's a mixture of things. But essentially, the main idea of this movie is that even though you're an NPC, the free guy is an NPC, he becomes aware of his existence and takes charge and gives his life meaning, you know?
yeah, it's about becoming the hero of your own journey and becoming aware and not allowing life to happen to you, but rather creating the life that you want to happen. And so that's exactly what Blue Shirt Guy does. And he affects the entire community around him in a positive way. And so everyone around him becomes aware and creators of their own existence. And so, yeah, just with this, like, he becomes aware through love and through loving a person, and through the maturity of the movie, he realizes that he loves her regardless if he can be with her or not. And the love was actually written into the programming through the creators of the software, who outside of the movie become lovers as well. And he's like, Free Guy, or Blue Shirt Guy, says it to Molotov Girl, like, that he loves her, but it's only written in his programming to love her, and that the real love is outside of this. And then she realizes it's this big scene where she like goes and kisses the guy in real life who helped create the game as well. So this, like, it was interlaced with all of her favorite things. Like, her favorite song was Fantasy by Mariah Carey, which was written into the game. Her favorite ice cream was Bubblegum, which was also written into the game. So he took like all of her favorite things, and then through that she became aware of his love for her.
Yeah, what Black Mirror episode does that remind you of? Like relationships and different realities.
Is that one where they break the system and then they like
with the
level through
pucks.
the matrix? Yeah, it's like time. These time things that tell you whenever you should go to a new relationship. And this couple gets together and they like fall in love, but then their time is up. And
I know which one it is, but I was
yeah,
just saying.
they go through all these relationships and they decide like, fuck the system. Like we're gonna make it regardless of the system. We're gonna go against everything that created the system. And then they level up and they get to this new playing field, but they realize it's only another puzzle piece. And then it's not even like the answer.
I thought they were just a simulation. That they ended up just being a simulation for like a real life, for a higher reality. That's what it was saying. It was essentially like when they escape the reality, they end up, it kind of like shows them becoming like a little stardust, and then it joins into like a bunch of other ones, and it's like a calculation of their match, and then it goes to a higher reality where they match up, and it's like it made it seem like that was one reality that this thing calculated, and it was like, yes, this is a 99.5 or 0.9% of the realities you two end up escaping to be with each other. And so there's like one reality that was like a simulation for a higher reality. Which is what these movies are about. It's like, how are they doing this? Man. That's what Billy Carson talks about, and then it's just like this, again, this whole idea of, what was it that Billy Carson had said about, the AI is coming into the reality, into the video game, and that we could essentially be the same thing. Like, what's to say we aren't, an AI in a video game, and that we were joking, right? That everyone is an NPC to somebody, like if you work a regular job, you're an NPC for someone else. So Tori, you work at a super fancy bar, and you guys are always joking how like,
yeah, we're just standing behind the bar, just talking to each other. And I was telling my friend about this game, and he was like, yeah, that's exactly our reality right now. We're NPCs. And I was like, I don't like that answer, but you're definitely right. It's like, we're not working here for ourselves. We're working here for the company, which is run by other people who are only in it for the money. And so it's like, we're not there to enjoy it. We're there to make money. And so
that was a joke on one of the social media posts about Free Guys. Like, essentially, poor people are NPCs for the rich people. Yep. And then you could be a rich person and still be an NPC for a billionaire,
Yeah, so, I work with this older guy, and every time he says, hey, Tori, and I'm like, hey, and I'm like, how are you? And he's like, I'm living a dream. It's not my dream, but somebody's dream. And that's his answer every single time. And I'm like, dude, it's so right. He's like, I'm not living my dream, but living somebody's dream. Like, dang.
100%. Well, sorry for ranting for forever, but these things. These are the things that I think about. But man, I really appreciate y'all for tuning in. Can't wait to bring y'all some more breakdowns. We're going to get back to the gene keys eventually. I'm having so much fun doing like these. I want to do another topics one, and then we'll probably circle back to the gene keys. But I really appreciate y'all tuning in. I hope you guys are like watching these movies and like seeing some of the same similarities. But man, if you guys are watching the podcast, let us know about some movies that you think that we should break down. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And it blows our mind every time we check the YouTube channel and we get a couple more followers. We're like, we're at 40 something. And we're like, whoa. And people come up to me. They're like, hey, I really like that you guys talk about this, or not many people talk about consciousness. And that was our whole point, is that we just didn't know many people who do talk about these things. And we don't claim to be experts, but we just wanted to learn more about it. And so we really are grateful for everyone that tunes in. We get super excited when people communicate with us about it. This is like a little passion project for us. And so, yeah, we truly love doing it, and we love everyone that pays attention to us. Thank you guys.